Thank you, Marilyn. Thank you, everybody. So I used to hike a lot, 30 years ago, and backpack. And one time I was lucky enough to backpack on the Pacific Coast Trail for 2 weeks. And there's a code among backpackers that when you get to a campsite, your code is that you leave the campsite better than where you found it. And I particularly noticed that when I was camping for 2 weeks, right? Then you'd come into a campsite, and you could tell if the people before you had just cleaned up a little extra, even something like raking the fire pit, or just adding instead of taking away from the campsite. And I know people who go camp, even it's the same if you go camping in your car or your camper. You can tell that if you go to a place where somebody has left it better than they got to it. And that, of course, is just a beautiful code for us to live our life. And I was thinking, in Unity, we're a lot about mindfulness in the moment. And what a great thing to go into the moment and say, I'm going to leave this moment here better than when I found it. I feel like we just had a bunch of those moments, listening to Marilyn, listening to Zach, listening to the music. My moments feel much bigger, happier, and more connected to spirit than when I entered into it. And that's from them and me, a lot of it's for all of us, right, that we're able to appreciate it. I'm talking about gratitude. It's Thanksgiving week. I think every preacher and every minister and every rabbi everywhere in America is probably talking about gratitude this Sunday. So we are in sync with everybody. I have a Bible reading from Luke, chapter 16. On the way to Jerusalem, Jesus was going through the region between Samaria and Galilee. As he entered a village, 10 lepers approached him. Keeping their distance, they called out, saying, "Jesus, Master, have mercy on us." When he saw them, he went to them. He said to them, "Go and show yourselves to the priests." And as they went, they were made clean. Then one of them, when he saw that he was healed, turned back, praising God with a loud voice. He prostrated himself at Jesus' feet and thanked him, and he was a Samaritan. Then Jesus asked, "Were not 10 made clean, but the other 9, where are they? Was none of them found to return and give praise to God except this foreigner?" Then he said to him, "Get up and go on your way. Your faith has made you well." There were 2 notes in my Bible online. One was that the term leper and leprosy can refer to several diseases, so there may have been many different diseases. And then some Bible scholars of this passage agree that by faith, what Jesus really meant was thankfulness, as in, your gratitude has made you well. The parable reminds us how easy it is to slip into ingratitude, and how gratitude is sometimes dependent upon unmerited favors. Were the others ungrateful? Maybe they were just busy. Maybe they were so excited they wanted to see their family and their friends and say, "Look at me, I'm okay." Contemporary research, though, paints a more complicated picture of ingratitude. And now I'm getting into some of an essay by Robert Emmons, which is called "What Gets in the Way of Gratitude." People who are ungrateful tend to be characterized by an excessive sense of self-importance, arrogance, vanity, and an unquenchable need for admiration and approval. Yikes. Narcissists reject the ties that bind people into relationships of reciprocity. They expect special favors and feel no need to pay back or pay forward. Here's our question. What must we overcome as a culture and as individuals for gratitude to flourish? The key is to see all of life as a gift. I'm pretty sure everybody here has that in their heart. And I've talked before about how the research has even proved that when we just take time and think about something to be grateful for, it changes our brain and gives us a little dopamine, right? It changes us. So even if you don't find anything to be grateful for, the actual brain chemistry is looking for something to be grateful for, creates a brain change, and it enables us to be closer to seeing all of life as a gift. But modern times, says Mr. Emmons, has regressed gratitude into a mere feeling instead of retaining its historic value, a virtue that leads to action. When I read that phrase, it struck me. I loved it. A virtue that leads to action. Just as great philosophers such as Cicero and Seneca concluded in their writings, gratitude is an action of returning a favor, and it is not just a sentiment. By the same token, ingratitude is the failure to both acknowledge receiving a favor and refusing to return, to repay the favor. So gratitude is the queen of virtues. Ingratitude is the king of the vices. The key is to see all of life as a gift. Give thanks and pay it forward, or pay it backward. Give thanks and pay it. Give thanks and step out and perform your next virtuous act. When you look around to find your blessings, like we just do on Thanksgiving, the week of Thanksgiving, everybody I know pauses and looks at everything they have and gives thanks for it. But let's take it one step further. I am blessed by this. How can I pay it back or forward? How can I turn gratitude into a virtue that leads to action? I'm blessed by a roof over my head. Can I offer shelter to another person or an animal? I personally am blessed by enough food that I want to diet. Can I use my resources wisely and share with hungry people? Des Moines Area Religious Council tells us that still, every year, increasing people are needing and using the food banks in Des Moines, in this Des Moines area. And we're in a pretty good area compared to the country. So I'm blessed by having a loving family. Can I share my time with people who live away from their family, or who have no family living, or who are just a little bit lonely? I'm blessed by having a job I love. Can I share my gratitude by mentoring someone who wants to get ahead in the same field? I'm blessed by friends. Can I spend some time getting to know someone who isn't like me? Maybe they have different political views and opinions. Can I pay this forward and create some understanding in my heart and in the world? I'm blessed by my spiritual connection and journey. Let me share this by living as nothing less than my true self. I almost have another spiritual inspiration, or inspirational interval. Morgan sent me a letter because she wasn't going to be at our meeting last week, and I printed out her letter because I wanted to read it at the annual meeting, and I had it up here. And as I said, if it's not stapled to my head, I might forget it. So it was sitting up here, and I was sitting down there, so I forgot to read it. But I want to read this because it speaks in a beautiful way to gratitude. And she she sent me something she got from the Daily Word. Here's the Daily Word from August of this year. As I am paying bills, I may feel frustrated with my debt-to-income ratio. I pray for abundance and repeat affirmations. Why then does it seem as though the creative laws of abundance aren't working for me? I am approaching prosperity from a belief in lack, my focus in on my perceived needs. Since what I focus on increases in my life, what I'm doing is creating more needs, the opposite of my conscious intention. So I shift my focus to spirit within. I learn to appreciate the ways in which prosperity is already present in my life. I open my mind to divine ideas, which immediately guide me to resources and channels. Prosperity comes to me in new and wonderful ways. And Morgan says, I had a cool small example in October when I was at Prairie Woods and going to lead the dances there. When I arrived, there was just one person from the general public signed up. I knew some from our class would probably attend, but I wasn't sure how many. So I practiced and was grateful for the one person. The next day, there were two more. The next day, another one signed up. Then, the morning of the dances, a cook at Prairie Woods came up to me and said, "Are you leading the dances here tonight?" I said, "Yes." And she said, "I've been waiting for you. I've been waiting for you." She had come last year and had a great experience. The next week, she had gotten hired at Prairie Woods and shortly after got into doing energy work. She now helps women recovering from trauma through movement and dance and energy work. She brought 4 others with her, and we had 5 from our class, so we ended up with 14. So I am grateful for the contributions we have had to Unity this year, both financially and time and energy. And, Morgan wanted to send that energy to the annual meeting, and I think I'm even happier that I forgot it and remembered it today, because I feel like it worked really well for today and this story. And really, the message, we really can't hear too many stories about it. Both the stories, the gratitude story and the increasing story. The knowing that, yes, we do feel lack, okay? Like, we don't want to put no head in the sand, no ostrich in the sand, but yes, we do feel lack. There's stuff we don't have. And then our lesson and our learning is, when we feel that, to turn it around, Feel it, step out into it, look for something to be grateful for. And this week, I'm asking all of us to pay it forward in another way. To let your heart go to where it naturally is. To let the real you come out to who you are. When I stand up here, it's really a nice view. That's probably why you should also want to do an inspirational interval, because it's a beautiful view. There are people smiling and loving you, and it's all coming at you. You feel the energy. Energy is a real thing. We teach that in Unity a lot. So you feel the energy, and it awakens in you the energy that is already there of spirit, and your energy in your heart, so you're all kind of mixed in as one, and then you're able to give it back out. You're able to give it back out by seeing. And my point is that everybody in this room is a beautiful, giving soul on the path of spiritual evolution. Everybody here. And everybody here is also a human and has moments when we need to remember the things we learn at Unity. I was thinking about the songs that Chris chose today, and I was thinking, man, I want to remember those lyrics in the middle of the week. But as I said, if it's not stapled to my head these days, but I want that to come back to me. Especially I want to remember, well, everything I need is available in my mind. Like, yeah, baby, I want to remember that. Everything I need is right here. I want to remember, I want to act in a holy, holy way. I want to remember that. And the reason I'm ending on this way is that I've had, in the last 2 or 3 weeks, I've been working on my own personal growth stuff, working about, and did some work in some self-observation. And one of the things I came down with is I found that I still have this false belief that there's not enough. Whatever. I came to the planet this time to learn that that's not true, that there is enough. And I came down to a special phrase of there will always be help. Yeah, there will always be help. And I laughed because I came to this with some writing and some journaling and some meditation, and I worked with my spiritual director, and I worked with a group. And then I laughed because I remember, oh yeah, that's what my therapist told me 7 years ago. There will always be help. And I actually just remembered that this morning, so it cracked me up thinking how often how often on the spiritual path we keep going on the same path, and maybe we believe it a little more, or we become a little more our true self, and things unfold. And just because of unconsciousness and the way that the world works, it's like we forget those really important things. And even though I could have said that I believe there will always be help, I was having a period of time where I was believing in the story that wasn't true about not enough, the not enoughness. And so that is why I'm so grateful that I do have a job I love. And the job I love, because it is in the field of spirituality, I have endless opportunities to encounter and work on myself. And that is why I'm so grateful for unity, and so grateful for this particular unity in this particular community, in this particular moment, and in this particular day. Because it doesn't matter how many times I forget, because I will always have people to remind me, because there will always be enough help. And there will always be something to be grateful for. Then Jesus asked, "Were not 10 made clean? But the other 9, where are they? Was none of them found to return and give praise to God except this foreigner?" Then he said to him, "Get up and go on your way. Your gratitude has made you well." So our gratitude is making us well. Let's take an offering for unity.